Hi, kia ora, and welcome to Creative Connections, where we have beautiful, inspiring conversations with artists living in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm your host, Mandy Yarkich. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me again. There's been another little break between episodes, and this is the last episode of season 11. I am moving house up to Mangawhai Heads at the end of next month in August, so I'm going to have a little break with the podcast, but it will be back and I'll keep in touch on my Instagram account with what's happening. So I do hope you can join me for season 12. This episode is with Andrea Robinson. Andrea is a painter from Wellington Aotearoa, New Zealand. Her paintings celebrate nature and are made with the intention to touch people's hearts and shine a light on conservation and environmental protection. From stylised realism to illustration, Andrea explores many styles and approaches within 3 series: florals, landscapes, and native birds, with a particular focus on her beloved kiwi. In this episode, Andrea shares her personal challenges with health issues and periods of chronic pain, and how she manages this around her art practice and her love of being in nature. She shares the messages and narratives behind her paintings, the things that are important to her, how she manages her 3 series of works, what she loves so much about kiwis and the volunteer work she does with them, and she unpacks her painting process. I think you'll find Andrea really inspiring in the way she deals with the challenges in her life, her attitude to the world, and her positive mindset. And of course, you will find her painting practice really interesting too. Enjoy. Kia ora, Andrea.
Kia ora, Mandy.
It's really beautiful to meet you.
Oh, thank you. It's such a privilege to be here speaking with you with such amazing work that you do for artists in the community.
Thank you. It's lovely to have you on the podcast. Now, you are a Wellingtonian through and through, born and bred. Can you tell us a little bit about what you love about living in Wellington?
I actually live in Avalon, which is a suburb 20 minutes out of the city. So I feel like I'm a bit of a mix between suburban girl and Wellington city girl. But I really like that mix because we've got the cafe culture in Wellington and the creativity scene. So there's Te Papa there, the City Gallery, museums, and there's just always something happening generally in the art scene, whether it's WOW or an art show or a comedy festival. There's just so much going on, and I love that. But also, I'm really close to the Wairarapa. Like, it's just a skip over the hill, and there's wineries and farms and beautiful produce. There's the Pukaha Wildlife Sanctuary where I volunteer, and the Tararua Ranges for tramping. So we're really blessed with that. And then if you go in the other direction, to the coast, to the Kapiti Coast, beautiful beaches, swimmable beaches that aren't that cold, and Kapiti Island as well. So, yeah, I think we're just really blessed to live in Wellington.
It's not actually all about the wind like some people think.
People think it's really windy all the time, and yes, we do get wind, there's no question about it, but we have some stunning days. Yeah, it's stunning weather today, so yeah, that's great.
And that Kapiti Coast is so beautiful. We travelled up there a while ago, and it's just like so many little surprises of beautiful little towns off the main highway that you might not even see unless you sort of turned off. And it's just such a beautiful area.
Yeah, it is gorgeous, and it's got a really strong art presence, especially in Otaki. So they do a festival every summer for pottery, and that's really greatly attended by the wider Wellington community. Yeah,
so good. And then also you're not far from the South Island.
Exactly. So my husband's from Blenheim, and so it's really easy for him just to jump on a plane or get on the boat, generally speaking, if they're not in dock. At the moment, they seem to be always up in dry dock. But it's not far at all. So it's good.
So good. And you were born there. Can you tell us a little bit about the kind of child you were?
I was a very quiet child. And being the eldest of 3, my mum was really busy with the other 2. And so I spent a lot of time out in the garden My mum has an incredibly green finger, and so she grew all sorts of flowers, and my dad did a veggie garden, and I spent a lot of time with my grandmother as well, and she had an incredible garden. It was like wildflowers everywhere, but she sold roses and lilies and orchids to the Wellington flower market to give a little bit of extra income, and had these beautiful orchards of fruit trees. And it just allowed me to dream, and it really inspired my practice. So I'd sit there dreaming all day, looking at the sky and finding animals in the clouds, and yeah, just really observing insects and birds that were close to me, and that inspired me when I got home just to doodle. So my parents were quite happy to let me go on with pens and biros, but it wasn't until I started drawing on the wallpaper that they thought they should get me some crowns and some books to really help me with my practice.
That's so good. And then high school, were you starting to kind of see some of your talents emerge?
Yeah, I was just really drawn there. I just wanted to be in art classes all day if I could have. Um, it was very limited though. There was only really painting and drawing to do. And I remember there was one course where we had lino cutting and wood cutting, but in terms of exploring our expression, that was about it. So it was quite limiting. But we did have well, we still do have the Hut Art Society close by. And so my mum enrolled me in classes there. And so I just got to learn all sorts of other things, which even Japanese type of drawing and painting, which was wonderful.
So
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
And were you thinking that you wanted an artistic career?
yeah, always. Um, I initially wanted to be a graphic designer, but I was dissuaded from doing that because um, I guess the general thought was there was no money in being an artist, and so therefore I needed a profession. So I went to Polytech and I did a business administration course and shorthand, and I went into the um, business world in private and government and worked there for most of my life, actually. But I picked up lots of skills along the way, which has really helped me with my business. And I did a diploma of business studies at Massey when I was there. Um, and also when I was a big traveller. So as soon as I got money into my wallet, I was saving to go to Australia. So I did a tour there, and then I went to Europe and studied the street artists and sat around them and did a little bit of painting there too, which was really influential on what I was doing. Um, I got married and then moved to Adelaide for just over a year. And in my weekends, I did a graphic design course there, which was really just gave me a really good background in graphics. And I thought, great, I'm going to go and look for a job. And then we were off and we lived in Canada. I was there for about 5 years. And my marriage broke up and I had a newborn and a 15-month-old baby.
Wow.
I returned home to New Zealand and thought, what do we do now? so um, I must have gone mental, Mandy, because I decided that I could manage two little babies and be a full-time student doing a visual communication design degree at Massey University. And that's what I did.
Wow. You are incredible.
How was stupid.
But
It was.
what made you think that you wanted to study them? Were you just really determined to become an artist? Were you thinking like
I
that?
I thought I need a profession and I've always wanted to do this, so this is what I'm going to do, and that will help me support my boys, and I can also perhaps um, change or put my fingerprint on some of the graphic design and advertising that was around at that time, which tended to be quite sexualized, or I just wanted to change that. So that was my reason behind it. Um, I got through that course, and I was going to go into teaching as well. So that would give me, I was thinking about all the feathers in my cap and how I could support my family. I was also working during that time as well when I was studying. So that's why I said I must have gone mental to try and do everything at once.
Gosh, that must have
Um,
been so challenging.
it was, and I only got through the first term of teaching, and I found that I couldn't read the screen on the computer, and my looked like the text was going sideways. And I thought, oh, something's really going weird. So I went to the GP and she said, you need to stop what you're doing. Your blood pressure right now, even as we speak, is rapidly going up and down like this. And she said, you will have a heart attack. So she said, I want you on bed rest for a good 6 to 12 months, and I want you just to enjoy your boys.
That's huge.
Yeah, it was huge.
And how old were you then?
I would have been early 30s.
Gosh,
Yeah.
that's quite a big thing for a doctor to say, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I have to say she's an incredible doctor here, actually, and it was exactly what I needed to hear.
Yeah. And did you give
So,
up your job and actually have that bed rest?
well, I was at university studying teaching, so I had to give that up. And so I had a few little jobs in the background. I didn't tell her. I was just sort of freelancing, and I was doing a little bit of teaching and looking after my boys who would, when I got through the visual communication design degree, my youngest would have been about 3 years old. I think that's right, 3 or 4. And Brian would have been 5. So, yeah, that was a bit of a disappointment not doing it. But I thought, well, I can go back to it. But instead, as I started to recover, I got a part-time job, and that led into a full-time job back in administration. And it was really secure in terms of finances. And it enabled me to have that time with the boys at night, not having to worry about working a whole lot of overtime and in the weekends, and supporting their learning development and social development, and being part of like the PTA and helping them with tennis. You know, my husband and we um, helped with a team there, and my husband ran the finances for the whole of the Lower Hutt region for a short period of time, about 4 years. So, yeah, that's kind of where my life went. I didn't really have any opportunity to paint until they were in about year 10, but I only had like a very small easel in the corner of a multi-purpose room that joined like the dining room and kitchen. So it was Grand Central Station, and I just felt like I really couldn't um, do a proper job of painting stuff. But I did start painting then, and so from about 2014, that's when I started getting more serious, really looking at what I was doing.
So you remarried at some point,
I
and
did. I was about 8.5 years on my own with the boys before I thought, oh, it would be nice to have a little bit of company. But I sort of felt at that time, um, yeah, I really wanted to give my all to my boys and not have to really focus on any other sort of noise that might be in a relationship. So that's what I did. And I've just realized I missed out a really important part of influence on my work, which is when I lived in Canada, I went to Calgary University at night and I studied sculpture, and I also did life drawing at night. So in terms of honing my skills, that is just one of the best things that an artist can do, I think. And I met an artist over there. Her name is Jalu, and she was offering painting and drawing classes in the evenings. And so we used to draw from still life and also from statues using HB pencils, which would take over 40 hours. No dark pencils allowed. And just building up the structure of a surface like that, it was invaluable to technical skill. Uh,
yeah.
we became such good friends that we I was allowed to go into her studio on the weekends where no one else was there, and sometimes she wasn't there, and do my own thing and do some of her underpaintings. Um, I was offered to go down to LA with her, so I went to LA for her to do the show down there, and that was such an eye-opener
Wow.
in terms of the amount of people that were there and went through, and the other galleries and agents that were there and talking to people. So that was a huge learning curve, but also in terms of the footprint of the space of the booths. So they'd be at least 6.5 meters long by 3 or 4 meters on each side, which would allow a couch to be there. There would be a table in the middle with chairs, and on the end of each booth would be a storage area for extra artwork, but it was also big enough so that there was a chair and tables if you wanted to have a private conversation with a buyer or an agent right there. It was amazing, Mandy.
That sounds incredible because we
It
don't
was.
realize, I think, sometimes in New Zealand, we're just so used to what we do and how we do it. And
Yeah,
then you go to a place like LA and it's just like, wow, it's on a completely different level, isn't it?
yeah, it really is. And even just the type of buyers that go through are completely different. There's a lot of people with a lot of money over there, and they wouldn't even hesitate to drop $500,000 on, a piece of artwork or a sculpture or anything. So yeah,
And what was that artist's name again?
Jalu.
Jalu. And what sort of work did she do?
Oh, incredible painter of figurative, based on Buddhism and her story, which is just incredible, really, what she went through as a child, and what her father Enilu went through. So I also did a little bit of tutelage under him. He didn't speak any English, so I had to start learning Chinese. And yeah, that was an interesting experience, but he was incredibly powerful influence in my practice as well.
That's
Yeah,
really interesting. And
yeah, yeah.
how amazing to have that opportunity. And you were obviously all the way through really keen to just kind of learn and, start kind of creating that base for what was going to become your artistic career. Well, it feels like you were kind of aware that you were going to become a practicing artist and have an arts career in some form.
In some form. I
And
just
all the
didn't,
way through you were kind
yeah,
of learning and taking opportunities.
absolutely wherever I could actually, and when I could afford to. It's not always easy to do what you want to do when you're a solo mother. So my husband and I, we moved into our new home, and it was a real step up from having to paint in the corner. So I actually got a bedroom to myself. It's not the studio of my dreams, but it enables me to have a space where I can leave my paintings out, or um, and also I've got a room to do my photography and to store my work, which is just amazing. So yeah, I feel really, really fortunate.
Mm.
So I was continuing to work full time, just to pay bills and things, and then in July 23, I woke up one morning and I couldn't walk, and I was in so much pain. Um, I couldn't bear any weight on my feet at all. Um, so I went to the doctor, and they took blood tests and tried to see if there were crystals on my knee. I was sent to a specialist, and from there I've been on a journey of trying to heal my body. Um, I don't actually have a diagnosis as such, but the best guess is that I've got a condition called inflammatory arthritis and also of the soft tissue. So I've been on so many drugs to try and help reduce swelling and enable walking. I've been in and out of a wheelchair for the last sort of 2 years. The last 6 months have been the best in terms of reducing the swelling. I'm on an immunosuppressant drug, uh, and it's called Enbrel, and it has been life-changing in a lot of ways, but it's still not perfect. I can manage about 10 minutes walking around the park, but it has to be flat. I can't do bushwalks like I used to do those every weekend. Just so in, just love being out in nature. Um, but I am managing to do art shows again now, which is really great. I can stand for longer periods of time. But sometimes I might get a little bit swollen in my legs, and so I lose my shape of how I look. But I'm getting out there, which is really important to me, and being authentic to myself, and showing work, and hopefully showing people the messages behind the work, which is really important too.
Yeah. Well, that's an incredible story, and thank you so much for sharing that. You
That's
know, I I can't actually believe that you are doing what you're doing when you're also, you know, you're battling with a pretty serious chronic illness.
Yeah, I mean, it was really tough, especially in the first couple of years. But I was really determined I wasn't going to give up. I had my legs elevated at one point with ice packs on them, and I had my easel at a certain point. It was really uncomfortable, but I decided I can't paint like I normally paint. I'm going to do a technical piece, like something that my friend Ja, who taught me how to technically paint, did. So that's called Hallelujah, and that's actually on my website. It's a huge floral. But it just helped me just to work, just to focus on something else other than the pain, and just to work really technically, but just enable me to create a piece. And I said to myself, if I can get through this painting, then I can get through the next step. And it's just one foot in front of the other.
Wow. And so did the paintings sort of come out of you not being well? Was that when you started to really think of
Mm.
yourself as a practicing artist?
I think I thought of myself as a practicing artist earlier on, before I got ill. I was selling really well, even though I was working full time and had the boys at college. Um, and they sold through platforms like Saatchi Art, and also just through local fairs and things that they just used to. I didn't have anything available. Basically, things were selling really well. That all changed, of course, after COVID. So,
Yeah.
but yes, and yes, actually, the paintings that I produced during the time that I was very ill were very similar to Katrina's, Katrina that you interviewed. And I just wanted to create paintings that made me feel really happy. And they were generated from the flowers that I have in my own garden. So I've got quite a lot of florals here that I grow. I've got old roses that have the names of my family members here, and lilies, and the things that my mum and grandmother had. So I used to get my husband to pick them, and he'd take them up to my studio, and I would just put them on next to my canvas or my board, and I'll just paint from them. I'm free. I can do what I want. And so that's what I created.
Wow.
Now that I'm more able-bodied, I'm back in small bushwalks. I can't do elevated steps or anything, but I can manage going around, and I've been volunteering at Pukaha Wildlife Sanctuary and helping the head ranger there doing health checks and feeding birds. And I love it, Mandy. It's just so good to be out in nature and to hear the stories of the rangers and what's working, what's not working in the environment. And that's really important to me. And
Yeah.
I've also joined the Petone cleanup crew, which picks up rubbish off beaches. I don't do that as often as I'd like because the unstable ground and rocks is a little bit difficult, but I've learned so much from, just how much people are throwing out, or into the seas, and the dive team and what they bring out is horrendous. And that has a huge impact, not just on the wildlife that are there, but also on swimmers and fishermen. And it's a real problem. And I don't know what we can do about that other than perhaps more regulations, and fines. But yeah, so that's what I have been doing.
You're amazing the way I can just see it in your face that it's like you've been through some stuff, but you still have your spirit. Like you've still got a really beautiful spirit that's managed to get through all of this really difficult stuff.
Thank you, Mandy. That means a lot to me, really. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm really praying that I can get better even further. But I just really don't know. There's only so much the drugs can do, and I was told by my specialist that it may be working now, but it may not work next month. That these drugs can only work for a certain period of time, and then I might be looking at an infusion drug. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna my thought is make the best of every day. Do what you can to be kind to someone, to make a mark on the world if you can, make a difference. And that's something I've always believed. That's what I
Sorry.
try to do with my art as well. So, um, if people are interested and they look at my website and they click on an image, there's a story behind each artwork. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
noticed that. It's really, I love the way you do that. But, I feel like you've got this challenge and it's, as we've often talked about on the podcast, sometimes the really hard stuff can have that silver lining or can have sort of a
Mm.
positive outcome as well as the negative.
Yeah.
And you've obviously channeled a lot of that energy in a positive way. I'm sure you have really bad days also, but you've managed to kind of stay positive, which is not always easy. It would be very easy to get into a
Mm.
really big black hole especially when you're not sure of your future and that kind of thing. It's a mind over matter thing, isn't it? And sometimes art can
Definitely.
really help with that.
I think art is healing, both to myself and to other people who view it. And yeah, I want to bring hope and joy, and also for people to connect with my work in a way that they want to care for nature or take action. And yeah, also help other people as well. It's really important.
I love that. And you mentioned Katrina, so I spoke to Katrina, I don't know, a few months ago, Katrina Cosgrove, and she weirdly had quite a similar chronic illness as you, which is surprising in a way because I don't feel like it's all that common. But obviously, you were saying it is more common than you realize.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully you can connect with Katrina at some point.
I'm looking forward to doing so.
Yeah, so good. So if we get onto your talking about your practice now, I feel like your practice has a few sort of compartments that are all under the same kind of umbrella.
That's
And
right.
that's nature really, isn't it? So you have the floral series and then your birds and your kiwis, native birds and kiwis, and then a sort of environmental focus, which might have penguins or whales or other wildlife.
Yeah,
So could you just talk to us a little bit about your practice and describe it for people who haven't seen your work?
sure. I would describe it as being playful with a serious message behind it. So I've got my floral series, which really is from the memories that I had as a child and just spending that beautiful time in the wildflowers and imagining. And so that those pieces are really dear to my heart. They remind me of my grandmother and how we would pick flowers together or pick up the fruit off the ground, which she had big plum trees and apple trees. And it's because I had the freedom to imagine. You'll see if you have a close inspection on the florals that there'll be bees and dragonflies and sometimes snails and sorts of other insects there that I just enjoy putting in there. So it's a little bit of whimsy, and I enjoy doing that because it gives the painting more interest. Um, it also can be quite pattern-like if you look into it as well, and repetitive in some of the ways I do the flowers. And it's not what I would call photographic realism. It's more a stylized approach, and I enjoy that because it gives people, I think, it doesn't look like a photograph. I think that's what it is. It looks like it's been hand painted and you've got the hand of the artist in it. And so that's why I enjoy the florals. So I also believe by having those little insects, it interweaves the thought of how interconnected nature is with one another. It's not just flowers, but a healthy environment means that we have to have insects and butterflies. They're a real indicator of how healthy things are. So that's why I include those um, butterflies and insects in my paintings.
They're really beautiful.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
very gorgeous. And there's a lot of artists who make floral works, but I feel like your floral work is quite obviously yours.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Um, and then on with my birds, I from volunteering at Pukaha, I've actually fallen in love with kiwi birds, and that's why I've got so many of them. I think I've got around 22 paintings of them so far. They're all of real kiwi birds. So I've I've got little photographs I've taken with permission of the ranger, but it's so quick. I only have a really like 2 second time frame because the birds can get stressed, and so it has to be a very quick health check. And from those photographs, I do some thumbnail sketches and I sort of draw out my ideas because I don't want them to be photographic. And I want them to be playful. I've got one actually in here just to look at, but you can see how they're more stylized realism than anything else. And I think that just helps people connect with the birds. And then I had my story about their names and when they were born, perhaps, and yeah, when they were released. Yeah, it's just an amazing experience, and I get
Yeah.
to work with other birds too. So there will be other birds coming out, but at the moment, I seem to be have this love affair with them.
Yes. Well, I love the way you capture kiwis because kiwi, it's such a sort of iconic symbol for New Zealand, which can be sort of really overdone or badly done. And it feels like you're capturing something very sort of gentle about the kiwis.
Thank you. Yeah, and you have to be gentle around them. There's a lot of rules around kiwis. You just can't pick them up. They have to be handled by a ranger. They get stressed really easy. They just molt. They'll just instantly lose their feathers. You're not allowed to take feathers off the ground, for example, and you're not allowed to follow them. You have to stand still. So if you see a kiwi in the bush, just stand still. Yeah,
Really.
yeah.
And why aren't you allowed to take the feathers?
That is a regulation by government. I'm not sure
Really?
why. Yeah, I don't know that information.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is interesting actually
Oh,
what
yeah,
you
that's really
yeah.
interesting.
And I've been learning recently how to handle an egg that has been rescued. Um, yeah, just in the stages of learning that and um, about the incubators, how to wash the egg when they come in, how to find the line to know which way is up. Yeah, all sorts of things I'm learning, which is amazing.
That's fascinating. And
Yeah.
did that, what came first there? Was it your interest in the birds and in sort of protecting native birds, or were you just enjoying painting birds and then that led to finding out more?
I've always been interested in them, actually. My dad used to take us as children on lots of bushwalks, and he'd teach us about nature, the names of birds, the names of insects, the names of trees. He, he's still just really interested in nature, and I think that just rubbed off on me. And there were a few bird rescues along the way in my lifetime. And I used to sketch them when I was on the beach or in nature, and it just sort of followed that I really want to protect birds as much as I can, and also as my knowledge grows, I can tell people about which birds are struggling and which aren't, and be a voice for
Mm.
protection. Yeah.
Yeah, and you really are, and I think you do that beautifully through your Instagram account.
Oh,
That
thank you.
you're really explaining, you know, the ideas behind it, but also sort of connecting it to your experiences out in the actual wild with the birds, which is quite interesting. So it's almost like an educational slant as well. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah.
That's great. And then in your, as you said, in your website, which we'll talk about later because it's such a good website, but you are talking about the stories and you know, the birds on a deeper level rather than just painting a bird and putting the painting out there.
Yeah. Well, I just think anyone can pick up a paintbrush and paint a bird, but I think it's really important for people to understand the work that goes behind the paintings. It's the research, the reading that I do, um, whether it's scientific reports or conservation emails that I get, or even just talking to the people who are on the ground, whether it's the rangers. And I've learned so much through them, you know, even the fact that in the last couple of years, the kiwi birds that are hatching are male. It's very hard to get a female, and they're kind of like, well, why? Be tossing around ideas of, is it climate? Is it, the fact that we're increasing in temperature and perhaps it has an effect? There's all those sorts of questions that we talk about around the table. And there's so many rescues that happen as well. So there were floods that went through Pukaha towards the end of last year, and oh, the damage that was done, but the community that rallied around them and helped them fix their pathways. But in the cleanup, there'll be nests that are abandoned. There'll be river rats that come down, and then they'll just eat families of birds. All the pewaka walkers, were gone. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And out of that, the head ranger there, she rescued a clutch of kakariki and hand raised them at home. Even the fluffy duckling was, she sent me a picture of this duck she'd rescued and on her dog. I said, "Who's the boss?" She goes, "The duck."
Really? That's
Hilarious.
incredible. I
Yeah,
actually
so,
saw that reel on your Instagram.
all right, yeah.
Yeah, it was such a beautiful reel because one of the birds didn't want to go away, did it?
Orange, yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Well, Orange needed a bit more special attention. So he had a bit of food stuck, or yeah, I think it's a bit of food stuck on the feathers at the front. And Tara tried to wash them off, but couldn't get them all off. So the bird picked them all out. So he's quite bald
Oh,
and
bless.
quite little. So yeah, didn't want to come out. So yeah, Tara had to go and rescue him out of the box.
Yeah, and I love that combination of your art with, a real exploration of what you're doing with these birds and with these organizations. And you
Mhm.
also do send funds or sometimes your paintings
Yeah, I
have,
do. So,
yeah.
if anyone buys work from my website of the kiwi birds, I'm giving 10% to Pukaha. And
Mm.
I've got a few paintings in the wildlife centre itself, and 30% goes straight to them from there as well.
Oh, it's amazing. And
Yeah.
what is it that makes you want to do this kind of thing?
Because it's important. If we don't do something now, we're going to lose a whole lot of species. So we've got even dogs got cages at Pukaha. It's like a hospital as well, with plovers in them. And so, I had heard that there were very few breeding pairs left, and a lot of our seabirds are in real trouble, with climate change and storms. Um, we've lost so many of them, whether they're gulls or terns. Yeah, it really it really troubles me. We've got overfishing, and there's a whole lot of species that are in real trouble. Even down in Antarctica, I don't know if anyone's heard about this, but the pharmaceutical companies and etc. They've got these huge, huge ships out there just taking millions of tons of krill out of the Antarctic, and it's starving the whales and the penguins and the other seabirds there, and we're losing so many of them. And some penguins, like the Adelie penguin, they don't eat anything other than krill or certain types of fish. They will die. I mean,
Mm.
is that what we want for our future? Do we not want to hear birds in the bush or in the sea? I mean, come on, people. It would be really, really good if governments would, instead of investing in mining and other things, just look to the future about what we really want to keep here.
Yeah. And it's great that you're doing your little bit. It's really easy to feel like, oh, well, what I'm going to do isn't going to make much difference. But, if we all get on that path of working towards making a difference,
Mm.
then, it all adds up and it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good on you. And also you have your environmental series, which
Mm.
I feel like is a little bit more sort of surrealist kind of work almost. It's got a little bit of a sense of humor. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, actually, so those were some of my first paintings. So they're not new at all, but I guess when I was working, I had the freedom to just paint what I want rather than thinking, oh, do I need to also make an income? Is it sellable? Um, and so I knew, I mean, I can paint realistically, but I wanted to do something that was in a naive kind of style and playful to draw people in, to have conversations filled with symbolism and irony and satire. And yeah, I won an award for that from the Healing Power of Art and Artists. I think it was in 2024. And that was like, wow, I never thought that would happen. Um, so yeah, galleries don't want to show it. I have
Really?
tried. No, they just say it's unsellable. But
Really?
yeah, that's what I've been told.
Oh, I don't think so. I think you need to go and visit Vicky from Quirky Fox. She would love it.
I would love to do more work, and I think that's the question for me in the future is how can I communicate things with people that are important without turning them away from it, you know? So yeah, that's the question I'll be looking at.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I like the way you have mentioned, I think, on your website that you are interested in the way or sort of drawing people into your paintings, especially with that environmental series. I
Mm.
think with all of your work, actually. But the environmental series, it's almost like when you're having things, elements in the painting that are unexpected, it sort of really draws people in and helps them to look further and then makes them think. So, do you have a narrative behind each of these works that you're
Mm.
wanting or a message that you're wanting to get across?
There's definitely a message behind each one. So the ones in the Arctic, um, you'll see there's a lot that have icebergs melting. There will be pollution dripping into the ocean. There will be ships out there plundering. So there's a whole lot of symbols out there that you can think of. And there's also, when you click into it, there'll be more of an explanation. Um, and then I've got other paintings that are like wolves in the Arctic area that with canisters of oil and things like that. So yeah, I hope people can engage with it. What I've noticed actually is it's the younger generation, people in their 20s and 30s who really love that type of work. And so when I was showing my environmental work in 2025 at the Wellington Art Show, I was really busy talking the whole time. And I was actually this year as well, but it was more on the kiwi birds that I had. And I had one penguin painting of, which was called The Lost Umbrella, which is about the waves coming and destroying their habitat, that sort of thing. And they've got holding the little, Japanese umbrellas to show the fragility of nature or in the situation. So, yeah, it's really interesting to see how people resonate with it and the types of people and the generations who and are interested in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And what do you love about having sort of three series of works that you can dip in and out of?
Isn't that great? It's like, why would you want to eat Weet-Bix for breakfast all day? It's the same thing. I want to be doing something exciting. I want to engage my brain. If I did the same thing all the time, I would be so bored. And I also want to keep my brain engaged, and I want to inject a sense of story behind it. And I want people to be engaging their own brains. If they can work out a narrative in my story or create their own, how great is that? That each time you walk through a painting or walk past a painting in your home, you go, huh, I never saw that there before. I didn't realize
Yeah.
there's a piece of pollution in her work.
Yes, exactly. And I do you find that each of the series is sort of attracting a different audience or does it go
Yeah,
across?
yeah, sometimes. So it's quite interesting. The florals tend to be more older women who, I guess, not really men. Do you know what I mean? It's more women who enjoy it, perhaps who are in their 30s and above. Um, and the birds are more general. There is a lot of people who love kiwi birds and other native birds in New Zealand. That seems to be a big theme in New Zealand as well. There's a lot of people painting them. And then the environmental work, I think there's only a few of us who do work like that. And we all have a different style. So, and from my perspective, I've found that it's normally people who are sort of under 30 generally. There has been the odd purchase where there's been guys who really engage with it and they'll be in their 40s or 50s. Yeah.
How do you decide what you're going to be working on? Do you sort of just focus on one series sometimes or are you always kind of floating across the three?
I really love floating across the three.
And what makes you decide what you're going to paint one day?
Generally, what commitment I've got coming up and who the audience will be. So I've got how I work is I've got this giant sort of calendar that will be across a year. And then I've got like notes. I wish I could buy calendars advance at least 2 years, because then I could plot out all the shows and where they will be, because where you show can often mean that what you show might be a little bit different. So yeah, I've got shows coming up, and so I've got kiwi birds that are going to be showing over Anzac weekend at Paikakariki Art Show, and then I've been working towards I didn't mention this. So the Terrains Affordable Art Show that's coming up, I think it's June, and so my florals are going to be showing there, because I know that people out there like my florals. So, it just sort of depends on who's there.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be working towards the Art Lawn Show in November. And so Glenn said to me, bring your kiwi birds, Andrea. And I'm like, definitely. I'm going to be creating a new series for that.
Oh, it's so lovely. And it's great that you've got options in a way. That's the good thing about having a few
Yeah.
series, that you've
Yeah.
got options for different events or different areas or whatever you're feeling like making as well, which is kind of nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Well, I
Yeah.
think what we paint is a reflection of ourselves. It really is. And I'm hoping that people can see, that even though I paint different subjects, that and most of the time my artwork style is fairly similar. It's just a different subject. But
Yeah.
as you said at the beginning, overarching that is the fact that it's all about nature. It's all about conservation and environmental protection.
And that's what you're passionate about.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you just talk to us a little bit about process, Andrea, and how you build a painting?
Sure. So I think after I've done sort of research and I've had conversations with people and I've got my idea, I generally go and spend time with the subject. And so that involves a lot of sketching and drawing. And if I'm able to, I'll take photographs. And I've mentioned earlier that with the kiwis, there's only a really short time frame. And once I've done that, I sort of look at my photographs that I've got on the screen, and then I will sketch out some more and compare them to some of my previous ideas before taking the photographs. And sometimes it's really interesting, the ideas that I have prior to the photographs are better than what I have taken. Not that it's a reflection on my technical skill, it's just that the ideas are more important than the actual photograph. But the photograph's really good because it gives me a reference for tone, giving that the bird itself, looking at its feathers of the details, and what colour the feet are, because the feet will be different for each bird. You might think that all brown kiwi birds in the North Island look the same, but they really don't. For example, Mapuna, he's completely white, and then his children have got like Marley, he's got a white face and he's got pink feet and a little patch on the side, and Jack is a light brown kiwi, and Marley is sorry, not Marley, Bailey is a little bit darker. So it's really interesting to see. So that gives me context, and then so once I've done that, I will draw out little boxes of my ideas, and then I'll choose one and I'll do it bigger to make sure that my drawing is going to work for the final in terms of how it looks on the page. Is it balanced? Do I need to add little extra things into that painting to create my story, and how will I do that? So I'll research bugs and I'll research butterflies and moths. And if there's a story about endangerment on particular moths, I'll make sure they're in that painting as well. So after I've sketched it out, I make sure that the canvas or the board is prepared. So that often includes putting at least 2 layers of gesso down and standing in between. I'll draw out my image of the kiwi and where I want it placed. Then I'll put a layer of burnt umber down, which is diluted by some medium gel, and put that on. And that just enables having a white canvas or board to work from. It just sort of gives you a mid-ground so that you can place your colours down properly. And then the next step is blocking in. And so what that means is I'll block in the colors and the tone just to make sure they're looking good. And then I'll start, and then after that has dried, then I'll put the layers down. So there could be anywhere from 6 to 12 layers, depending on the complexity of the painting. And that enables me to build up the color, the tone, and the fine detail as well. So I use a myriad of brushes in that, ranging from sort of more thicker brushes or wider brushes to right down to the micro brush for the fine details at the end. Uh,
Mm.
and then after about 2 or 3 months, I can actually put a varnish down just to. It's not a complete varnish, it's what they call a porous one, which allows the paint to still dry and breathe underneath. But really, oil paints are so versatile. And the reason why I love them so much is that they've just got this beautiful buttery texture to them. It's different from painting with acrylics. The colors are true. When they dry, you know that they're going to dry the same. If you make a mistake, it's easy to fix it. And these days, you don't need to use horrible solvents and things. Like I've got mediums that I can wash my brushes out in water these days. You know, it's amazing. So you don't have to poison yourself with toxic chemicals and paints. Um, Having said that, I think the reason why I'm painting a lot in oil and I'm not experimenting as much as I'd like with other mediums is because I'm very confined in a bedroom and I'm very conscious that I don't want to be marking the walls with paint and splashing paint around. And I've got PVC hard plastic like you put under the computer chairs so I can run on backwards and forward all over the floor so I don't ruin the carpet. Because one day I want to sell this place and I want to move into
Yeah.
like a proper studio, concrete floors and sinks, and have couches where my friends visit and we can have a chat and et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, so
that's a
that's
good
that's
goal
how
to
I
have.
that's how I build a painting.
That's really fascinating. And the backgrounds often are with the kiwis, one color. Is that right?
Um, Yeah, they have tended to be that. That way, it's more of a focus on the birds themselves, or the gentle shaft of light coming down and highlighting their vulnerability.
Mm.
So I do have other paintings of birds where I've got more of a bush scene or just a hint at how it might look. And I've done paintings of kias in the South Island with the mountains in the background and the helicopter to show that, you know, we're in their environment still.
Yeah.
So yeah, at this point in time, I've been doing a lot of small kiwi bird paintings that uh, I guess I'm hoping will resonate with people
Yeah. Oh,
and
they
show
really will.
and show that in a
Yeah.
playful way.
Yeah. And it definitely, like I said before, it shows their vulnerability just in the way that they're sort of positioned, or, their body language and even the softness. You really capture that beautiful sort of downy feather softness. It's almost like you could just touch it and hold it. And there's something about the way you capture the kiwi where it is, you feel like you need to go into the painting and
Oh,
embrace the
that's
bird.
lovely, Mandy. Thank you so much. It's not easy for artists sometimes to talk about their paintings in terms of that. So to have someone else do that for them is really nice. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad that I was on point with that that observation. And what are your favorite oil paints to use?
Um, Michael Harding, it's really expensive, but sometimes you just can't get the colors you want unless you go away from other brands. So I've got a lot of Winsor and Newton professional paints. I never paint with the Winton brand, the student brand. It just doesn't have the intensity of color that you can get with the professional paints. And I almost think it's a false economy. So if you're going to buy good paints, make sure you buy the good ones if you can afford it. It's not always easy for people to afford. And Shemanki, I use that as well from time to time. Sometimes I get really big tubes, 100 and something dollars for a tube. Um, so yeah, but there's this sort of, some people think that oil paints take 6 months to dry. You can use liquid, which means that your painting is going to be touch dry by the next day and you can work on it. So
Yeah, I
I
wondered
think it's
about that.
really versatile. Yeah.
Yeah, with all the layers that you do, you can actually come back the next day if you
Mm.
add
Yeah.
liquid.
Yeah. I normally like to leave them once they're painted for a couple of months to really harden up, but I find that I also paint on birchwood and that dries super quick, even without any mediums in it. It just seems to absorb it, maybe. I'm not sure
Mm,
what it's doing, but yeah, it's
yeah,
even though
that's
I've got
interesting.
like a ground on it so that it doesn't absorb, it still dries more quickly on that wood than it does on the canvas.
Mm. And when
Yeah.
you're working in a small space like a bedroom, do you have lots of works on the go at sort of at different levels, or how do you manage that?
Yeah, I guess it depends on my health and what else is happening in my world. So my husband and I, between us, we're looking after six elderly people as well in various states of health. And so sometimes I just have to go, or I don't have the energy to do more than one. But generally speaking, I do about three at the same time, and they're not always in the same stages or in the same subject matter. And I think that's really good for my brain because sometimes I can go, oh, I just want to put it aside because I might think it's really good. And then if I hide it and then come back to it, I'll go, oh, wow, I really need to change that.
Yeah. Sometimes you need to step away and just reflect a little bit, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Do you think that you would be able to cope with your illness as well as you do without being an artist or without making?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think people, it doesn't matter if they're doing art or they're doing yoga or spending time in nature or focused on a job. I think if you've got that focus and it takes your brain away from focusing on how much pain you're in, then that's a positive thing. Yeah.
Mm,
It's not always easy. I mean, people with children and the noise factor, that would be a killer, um, being ill. But yeah, uh, if you were in that position, I'd say make sure you get as much help as you can, either through family or friends or there might be some sort of benefit you can get. Not everyone is eligible these days, but yeah, it's important to have that quiet time. Noise and activity can be really draining, and have your people around you,
yeah.
whatever form that is in.
Yeah. Apart from your illness that you manage every day, I guess, are there other things that you struggle with in your practice that people might not expect?
A small bedroom. I call it the cozy. I call it the cozy bedroom. As much as I love being in it because it enables me to produce my artwork, yeah, that is quite limiting. Yeah.
Mm.
So I do
Have you
struggle with that.
have you thought about finding a studio out of your home somewhere? Or is that difficult with your illness?
It's also difficult with my finances. I haven't been able to return to an office role because I just don't know how I'm going to be. Sometimes I'll wake up at 3 in the morning and I won't be able to go back to sleep, or I'll be so swollen I won't be able to walk for the day. Um, I've also had a problem in my past role where a lot of the time I couldn't go into an air conditioned office because I've got my glands under my eyes started drying out, which is part of some autoimmune disease. And so being in air conditioning is like someone sticking pins in my eyes. So I haven't been able to return to the job that I know best. However, in saying that, I used to teach, and I'm looking at ways in which I can perhaps do workshops and things like that, and that might increase the revenue. But
Mm,
yeah, at the moment, I'm not in that position to do that. But
yeah.
yeah, there'll be a day, Mandy.
Yes, I think
Yeah,
there will
as
be.
you know,
I feel
as
sure.
yeah, so do I. I think that it's just making sure I get the rest that I need and letting my body work itself out and seeing if there's any other drugs out there that might be able to help more. I'm getting towards the end of what's available through Pharmac. So I will just see. Watch this space, Mandy.
Yes, I
Things
will
will
be
change.
watching. It's quite humbling to kind of see you and what you're dealing with, and then the way that you channel the things that are important to you. I think you're a really great role model for other people struggling with things that, you found something that, oh, thunder.
Oh,
Oh, you found something that makes you feel good and that sort of helps you in a way, but you must definitely have your days. Do you ever have doubt in your practice and in the work that you're producing and in yourself as an artist?
Yeah, definitely. I think we all do. Especially in times like this, say if you can't get, yeah, if you don't have exposure for your paintings or um, they're not selling, and that's actually, I'd like to say to everyone who's listening, it's not a reflection on you. You may have been painting for 10, 15 years or more, or even just for a short time, but the economy is everything. Prior to COVID, it was relatively stable, the income and how it worked. And then there was a period during COVID where it went crazy busy and then it just stopped. Someone turned the tap off. And it's really difficult, especially in depending on what region you're in as well. So living in Wellington, we've had government jobs just be cut. Um, I don't know how everyone's functioning because I worked in government for a long time and I felt like I was working 3 jobs at a time. Um, so, and it's all driven by what the ministers want. We're not sitting there dipping tea, biscuits and tea or anything. So, yeah. So that's a lot of jobs have been cut and they're going to continue to be so. And that has an effect on local business. So a lot of cafes have gone, restaurants, other industries. So even big businesses are in trouble. So that of course means that, people aren't going to buy art when they can't pay the electricity bill.
That's right.
Unlike
Yeah.
us, it's just the time that we're in. And
Yeah.
so we need to pivot. We need to think, okay, this is not working. So do we change what we're doing? Do we change what we produce? Or do we also find other income streams, whatever they may be, and however we can manage it?
Yeah. And you do that so well. Your website feels like a very professional online store in a way, but also a way to showcase your original paintings and yourself. But I really love the way you've introduced, different things like the pivoting that you had just mentioned, the calendars and the bookmarks, which I think are very interesting. Maybe you could talk about. But, having also prints and, there's lots of it's almost like there's lots of tiers and lots of options for people, including really affordable options.
Yeah,
So, can you tell us a little bit about that sort of business side of your art practice?
sure. So I built my website from scratch. I use Wix. Um, I have to say has been frustrating over the last sort of 10, 12 years using it because um, it hasn't been as easy as Shopify for people just to plug in their Visa number and it goes straight through. There has been a form, but I received a message about 3 months ago saying they're changing that. So that is a real benefit. I like using Wix because it's intuitive. It's really easy to use and create the website that really feels authentic to you. You don't have to be sort of in that same box as everyone else. So I can update it at any point in time and it's really easy to use.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I built that in 2014, all those years ago. And so it takes time, unless you pay someone $30,000 to build your website or create it. It does take time. And I know now that it's changed with AI. You can plug in some commands or something and they can create a storefront. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that it reflects who you are, what you're about, what is your story, why is your work important? You want to connect with people and find your tribe. Um, and so, yeah, I just gradually built it. First of all, it started out with my paintings, and then um, I became a member of Manhattan Arts International. And I was with them for about 4 years. And Renee Phillips was incredible in terms of going, Andrea, you need to probably look at your artist statement and do that properly. And how about putting a bio in? And at that time, I was like, a bio? No one in New Zealand puts a bio on their website. That's strange. But of course, that's all changed. So, yeah, I've started putting in my bio and a bit more of my story about my practice and why it's important to me with pictures of myself, which I felt really uncomfortable doing. Sometimes it's easy to hide behind a painting, but I started putting pictures of myself in. And that's not easy for an older woman to do. No, you can't compete with all these young
Yeah.
ones who
But
seem
you just
to.
have to, you've got to get over yourself and just,
That's exactly what I had to do. So I've
yeah.
got over myself. I'm on social media. Sometimes I'll be lucky if I get 1 or 2 likes on my Facebook page, but I've got heaps of followers. So maybe they're just other artists. I don't know. Instagram, I have more of a following. And yeah, I've just made in the last couple of years, now that I'm sort of feeling a bit better, I've made heaps of connections with other artists and shows. And oh, isn't that lovely? It just feels so good, you
Yeah, it
know.
really does. Yeah.
Yeah, and we talk about, websites and things like that. So yeah, going back to that, I just then I started investigating prints and I learned how to photograph work. So I bought my own equipment, and camera, which is so expensive, aren't they? Goodness me. So that was a gradual build, when I was working full time. And so then I could do prints and I experimented. So I use Pick-a-Four in town with Oliver. He's incredible. If anyone wants to know, he's one of the best printers, I think, out there. Um, and so, yeah, people can buy prints off my website and they go from $28 for a small 12 centimeter one right up to about 120 for the large one.
Mm. I saw that.
Um,
$28 is very cheap.
mm, yeah, it
Very,
is
very,
cheap.
very affordable,
Yeah, but
which is nice.
I want my art to also be accessible to people who want to have a piece of art. I mean, how wonderful is it if it inspires someone to pick up their paintbrushes or their pastels, or inspires a child to want to learn. I
Mm.
that's it's good to have a little bit of diversity in price. So I put those up. Bookmarks, that's a new thing. And that was only encouraged, like I thought I'd never do bookmarks, but someone, who was it? Oh, I think it was Evelyn at Goody Goodness said, "Oh, Andrea, I really like bookmarks." So I did some bookmarks for her and they're in her store. And then I thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice if people could just print their own? And so they can print a page full of, I think there's 4 or 5 on a page, print them out on thick card, or they can download them and print them out at, I don't know, warehouse stationery, for example, and cut them out and they can have their own bookmarks. And they've got little sayings or little quotes as well as the native birds of, what I've got, tuis and robins and yeah.
It's such a good idea.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and how does that work? How do they download and make the payment?
Oh, easy. I think it's only $2.50. So you just go purchase. There's a little button that says buy now. It'll take you to the page and you just say download and you make the pay. It goes through and you make the payment and then you've just got it. Just comes
That's
in.
so
It's all
good.
yours.
Wow, you could actually use that idea for all sorts of things, couldn't you? Like, I love the idea of letting people print their own, as a more affordable option.
Not only that, it's really great for kids. I mean, I remember
Yeah,
when I was little, my father and I, we did lots of projects together and built all sorts of things because he was, even though he worked in a bank, he was a carpenter by trade. He was incredible at making all sorts of things. So, yeah, if kids can print them out, they can cut them out, they can put them in their books, or they can do other things with them, collage them. It doesn't
yeah,
really matter. Yeah,
exactly. Or, they have your bookmarks and they make their own bookmarks and,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a really lovely idea. I love it.
Mm,
It's a great way of getting people to interact with what you do,
yeah.
but on a different level.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's something about bookmarks. Like I had a friend who cut up one of her old paintings on a canvas and just made strips of an abstract painting on canvas,
Yeah.
and she
Yeah.
gave them away at Christmas time. And it's like it's something I really treasure.
Mm,
There's something beautiful about having a lovely book that you're enjoying, and then a good bookmark that tells a bit of a story or connects you to
yeah.
somebody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
And
thing for Christmas presents, artists out there.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so calendars I only did for the first time last year. So I was always a bit hesitant about doing it. I guess I just didn't really have the brain space to do it at that time prior to last year. But yeah, I put all my birds that I did years ago on a calendar to see if anyone was interested, and they went really well. I was
Really?
amazed. I mean, there's not a lot of money in them, really. By the time you sort of print them out on nice silk paper. And I don't do calendars that are just flip ones where you have a hole and you put a nail in it and then you have to constantly sellotape them to make sure they don't slip through the hole. That's annoying. So, yeah, I have them properly bound with nice paper, and if people want to, they can cut them out later and put them in a frame.
Mm,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I have heard that people aren't using websites in the same way as they used to, as their sort of main marketing tool.
Yeah. It's more of
Do
a
you?
portfolio, I think.
Yeah, I feel like it is a great way of people just kind of going in there and having a good look, but also Instagram, using Instagram as well
Mm.
to sort of
Mm.
record your process, which I think you're really good at as well.
Oh, thank you.
Could you talk to us a little bit about the galleries that you work with and how you made that connection?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting story, Mandy. So, um, oh gosh, I think it might have been before COVID. I was contacted by a person who wanted to create a cafe and a gallery down in Akaroa, and Amanda is her name, and she asked if she could purchase a digital copy of one of my bush scenes, and I said, absolutely. So, my artwork is in a bathroom in the cafe down, I think it's called the Common, that's right. And it's attached to the captain's quarter in Akaroa. And so, after that, I said to Amanda, oh, would you like some of my artwork in the new gallery? And she said, oh, you need to talk to Kath, who is now running that gallery. So I spoke to Kath, and she has been stocking my work for about 5 years, which is really awesome.
Mm,
And it's such a beautiful part of the country down in Akaroa. So yeah, I have to get down there again soon. Um, and who else am I with? I am with Academy Gallery, which is in Geraldine, and that's a new connection. So Carolyn contacted me a couple of months ago. It was just right in the thick of the Wellington Art Show, just as I was preparing for that. So I had to park that until after the show. But she is a beautiful person and really easy to get on with. Mind you, most of them are actually. Kat's beautiful as well. So yeah, she's been stocking a lot of my work, and it's been beneficial for both of us, which is really awesome.
that's so
Um,
good.
I used to
You-
be with Mitchell
Sorry.
Studios in Wellington, but they closed in 2024. So I'd done a solo show with them a couple of months prior to them closing. I hope that's no reflection on my my selling.
I'm sure it's not.
um, but yeah, so I really miss the Wellington connection and being
Mm.
able to sell locally. So using the art shows as a platform to sell my work is really important.
Do you find the art show is a good place to connect with gallerists?
Not so much. It's more the people who come through who are interested in talking about my work and having purchasing a painting. Yeah.
Mm. And have you got dreams or, goals for connecting with other galleries around New Zealand?
Well, I have I'm I had contacted a number of galleries last year, and I had started sort of late 2024 and doing that in 25. Um, but I either didn't get a response or it was a no. So I thought that's okay. I'll just keep working on my practice. Maybe as I build my practice and develop it further, maybe that will be of interest to galleries in the future.
Yeah.
When I was at Art in the Park last year, I was talking to Peter, who owns the Giraffe Gallery in Wanaka, and he said, Andrea, galleries will contact you. I was like, okay. He said, just keep doing what you're doing and it will happen. So um, that's good for everyone to hear, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry if you get rejected. It's just it's the time that we're in. It's not a reflection on you. And it may be that you're not ready yet, or maybe that you need to develop further, or maybe that you're ready and it's just the economy and paintings aren't moving as quickly as they used to. So
And sometimes it is all to do with logistics,
yeah,
how many artists the gallery already has, and if there's other
correct.
artists who are working in a similar way, or there's lots of variables, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the art shows, it sounds like that's a really nice platform for you to reach your audience.
It is, yeah. Kate and John, who run art shows across Aotearoa, are really accommodating and flexible, especially around um, myself with my health issues. And there are a number of other artists there who also have their own health issues. So they're really accommodating, really flexible. So yeah, I couldn't be happier, really.
That's so good. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. And as far as commissions go, is that a big part of what you do?
Um, Not so much at the moment, I guess because I've been committing to lots of other art shows, and because my work takes longer than some other people's to produce, especially the bigger work, it can take 3 months if I'm doing something really technical. I just don't have the number of um, paintings ready for a show if I don't commit to it. If I do a commission, it has to be booked in between I look at my calendar and I'll book it in and we can go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess with your illness, which I imagine is fairly unpredictable, then it's quite hard. You do have to have that sort of flexibility according to how
Absolutely.
you're feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. But I've got a really strong mind, so I always make sure I show up every day, even if it is for a short time. But I try and balance um, that with knowing that rest and a different scene can really rejuvenate your body and your mind, even if you're not sick. Sometimes you just need to balance that out. Otherwise, you'll
Yeah.
burn out.
Yeah. And
Mm.
I can see that you have a strong mind. That really comes through. What advice have you been given that continues to influence your practice, do you think?
So the advice I've received is generally from my friend Lu in Canada, although she's actually moved to the States, if anyone's looking up her website. And she said to me, do do the artwork for yourself first. Don't try and please anyone else. Don't try and follow what the trends are because you'll just end up doing the same kind of painting. Just reflect on what you want to do, who you are, what really drives you. And that was probably one of the best pieces of advice I've ever received.
Yeah, good advice. What would you say to your younger artistic self?
I would say don't listen to negativity or people who try to dissuade you from pursuing an artist's career. Stay committed to your pathway. I wish I had done that earlier in my practice. I feel like I could be in a completely different place right now if I had. Um, but sometimes life throws curveballs and you follow another pathway and it doesn't happen until a bit later. But that's okay too, because as we mature, we have completely different views on things as what we would have when we were younger. I also would think it's important to understand the market you're working in, to be open to developing multiple income streams to support your practice, um, and be authentically you.
Yeah. And I mean, you've spoken about your artist friend who obviously has had a big impact on you, but
Yeah.
are there other artists who inspire your work?
Oh, lots. It's really hard not to see all this beautiful work when you're on Instagram, right? And then you just start following them, and before you know it, you can't favorite them anymore because you've got too many artists following, which is really funny. But some of the ones that I've actually had to write down because I'll forget. I'm really inspired by work of Carla Grace, who's in Australia. She does a wildlife painter. She's incredible, and I love her business practice as well. I'm really inspired by the work of Lucy Eglinton. I mentioned Carla Grace, Nicholas Dillon. I love M. Wafer's work and the messages behind what she does. Brian Mashburn, Helen Kerridge, Sarah Abilsa, Glenn Joyner, Andrew Tischler, and there's so many other artists there. And I honestly, I could probably talk for another 2 hours on how many artists out there who are just wonderful and inspirational, and in terms of not only how they apply to their paint technically, it's, but more it's about the message. What are they trying to say? Yeah, that's the most important thing, and how I connect with it.
What are you most proud of as an artist and also as a person?
That's such a good question. Um, I'm most proud of the perseverance I've had in my life, despite being a solo mum for so long. Just being able to get yourself out of bed sometimes can be really, really difficult. And the challenges you face along the journey of life. So, yeah, I'm really proud that I can actually get myself out of bed, even when the pain of this condition meant that it was so difficult to do. And staying committed to my practice and believing in myself and saying, you know what, I've got something important to share with the world. I'm trying to show people that we've got a beautiful world that we live in. And if we don't look after it, we're going to lose a lot of things that are really important to people's mental health and also for the future generations coming through. It's awful to say the story to your grandchildren. When I was here, I used to be able to see rock crabs and they are no longer here. Or what are rock crabs? Nana, oh, they look like this in a book. Kids need to see these things and explore and do the things that we used to be able to do when we were children, and so that's my why. Yeah, that's what I want to achieve. And so looking ahead, that's what I want to continue doing, just develop my story more, develop more scientific evidence into my work, etc., and just make it more interesting. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, good goals. And do you feel like you could show your work or sell your work through some of these environmental organisations?
That's a really good question. I have actually contacted them in the past, and a lot of them say, "Oh, we just don't do that. We don't sell art. We've got our own and sort of internal graphic designer who will do that sort of advertising media. So that's not really the platform. But I've been successful in showing work at Zealandia and also at Pukaha. So some of the wildlife sanctuaries is a really good way of selling my work. And I'm hoping that other galleries out there, if they're in the North Island and are looking for a wildlife artist, if you're interested, contact me. And I'm finding that my kiwi boots are really resonating with people, especially the story behind it. And they've been selling like hotcakes. So, yeah, I'd love some representation in the North Island.
Yes. So gallerists listening, get in touch with Andrea.
Thank you, Mandy.
Okay, well, we might have to wrap it up. We've got a lovely thunderstorm going on at the moment in Tamaki Makaurau. It's quite crazy weather. But I'd just like to say thank you so much for sharing your personal story and especially, the chronic illness that you are trying to manage and that you live with every day. And I'm sure that somebody listening will resonate with that. And I just have so much admiration for the way you are so determined just to continue and to make a difference, So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Mandy. It's been an absolute pleasure.